At night, inside a convent, a young nun kneels before an image of the Virgin Mary. She prays silently for several minutes, her voice calm and focused. When she finishes, she removes her veil and slides the painting aside. Hidden behind it, words are carved directly into the stone wall. She quickly gathers her bag and moves quietly into the Mother Superior's bedroom. The room is dark. The Mother Superior sleeps deeply. The young nun carefully searches the room and finds a large ring of keys. She lifts them without making a sound. She runs across the courtyard toward the front gate. Her hands shake as she tries key after key. Suddenly, floodlights turn on. 4 nuns emerge from the darkness and begin walking toward her. Panicking, she finally unlocks the gate, but a heavy chain jams, allowing the gate to open only a few inches. With no other choice, she squeezes her body through the narrow gap between the iron bars. As she reaches the other side, she falls hard to the ground. A nun grabs her ankle and yanks her back. Her leg slams against the metal fence again and again until it snaps. The pain is unbearable. She screams, then loses consciousness. When she wakes, she strikes a match. She realizes she is trapped inside a wooden coffin. She screams and pounds on the lid, but it will not open. The space is sealed. There is no escape. She keeps screaming for help. No one comes.
Sometime later, an American novice named Cecilia waits inside an Italian customs office. A soldier searches her bag. Another officer notices she has no return ticket and does not speak Italian. The process slows down. The officers openly question her decision to join a convent. They suggest she is wasting her youth. Cecilia listens quietly. She does not argue. She shows no doubt. Her decision is already made. Eventually, her papers are approved. She is allowed to leave.
Outside, a deacon named Enzo picks her up. They drive for hours through the countryside. At last, they arrive at a remote convent surrounded by open land. Cecilia watches the scenery pass by. She is calm. She feels certain she has been brought exactly where she belongs. The Mother Superior greets Cecilia in Italian, praising her arrival. Cecilia does not understand. A nun named Isabel translates. When the Mother Superior orders Isabel to show Cecilia to her room, Isabel resists. She claims she has other duties. The Mother Superior insists. Isabel obeys. As they walk, Isabel explains the convent's history. It was built in 1632 as a place for elderly sisters to live their final days. She explains that death is common here. It is expected.
The convent sits above the St. Stephen catacombs. They are forbidden. No one is allowed to enter. They pass rooms filled with elderly nuns. Isabel greets them warmly. Casually, she mentions that one sister is expected to die soon from a tumor. Cecilia looks uncomfortable. She is not prepared for how openly death is discussed. Isabel explains that death is part of everyday life here. An elderly nun with dementia asks about her father. Isabel gently leads her away. She tells Cecilia it is best to play along with such confusion unless it becomes violent. Cecilia hears choir singing. She notices a nun standing still, staring at her in silence. The moment unsettles her. She does not speak. Isabel pulls her along and continues explaining the daily schedule. Cecilia says she feels honored to serve. Her voice is sincere. Isabel calls her sweet, not as praise. She warns Cecilia that this is a hard place where idealism fades quickly. Later, while Cecilia uses the bathroom, another young nun appears. She is smoking in secret. Her name is Gwen. Gwen speaks freely and ignores the rules. They talk. Cecilia explains that her old parish shut down due to low attendance. She felt lost afterward. She says Father Tedeschi contacted her and invited her here. Gwen reacts with dry humor. She says Tedeschi has a talent for finding runaways. The comment stays with Cecilia. That evening, a special ceremony is held. The novices walk down a long corridor holding candles. Their footsteps echo. Cardinal Franco leads the ceremony. Cecilia meets Father Tedeschi for the first time. Each novice stands before him. Because Cecilia does not speak Italian, Tedeschi translates her vows. She accepts willingly. She receives her rosary. She hesitates briefly before kissing the cardinal's ring. Then she commits. Afterward, the convent gathers for dinner. Cecilia sits with Tedeschi. He speaks gently. He says that before becoming a priest, he loved science. Over time, he says, God led him elsewhere. Cecilia shares her own story. When she was 12, she fell through ice into a frozen river. Her heart stopped for nearly 7 minutes. Paramedics revived her. Since then, she has believed God saved her for a reason. She has never known what that reason was. Later that night, Cecilia hears sobbing near the bathroom. She follows the sound into the chapel. Behind the altar, she enters a small room. A woman lies on the floor praying. Her face is covered by a red mask. Before Cecilia can react, the Mother Superior appears. She calmly says the woman is simply lost in prayer. She places a large nail into Cecilia's hands. She explains it came from the cross where Jesus was crucified. She speaks about suffering as devotion. The room spins. Cecilia collapses. The next day, Cecilia goes to confession. She blames her fainting on drinking too much wine. She apologizes. The priest stares silently. He says nothing. He fades into the shadows. The space distorts. Hands reach through the walls. They drag Cecilia backward. She is thrown onto a bed. Nuns wearing red masks surround her. They hold her face. A blade is raised. It comes down. Cecilia wakes screaming. Francesca, an elderly nun, stands in her doorway. She stares silently. When Cecilia turns on the light, Francesca is gone. The next morning, duties are assigned. Gwen whispers and is sharply reprimanded. Isabel trains the novices. They wash elderly sisters. They do laundry. They slaughter chickens. Cecilia and Gwen grow close. They laugh together. Death becomes routine. One day, Cecilia sees Isabel watching her. When she looks again, Isabel is gone. That night, Cecilia awakes to Francesca cutting her hair. Francesca whispers that Cecilia is blessed and adored. Cecilia gently returns her to bed. She notices scars shaped like crosses on Francesca's feet. The next day, Cecilia confides in Gwen. She says this place feels wrong. Gwen says it is still better than where she came from. She explains she once lived with a boy who hurt her. After fighting back, she was sent to a convent-run group. That led her here. Suddenly, Cecilia becomes violently ill. She vomits. Dr. Gallo examines her. While waiting, Cecilia sees a masked nun outside. A crow crashes into the window. When she looks again, the figure is gone. Cecilia is summoned. Franco, Tedeschi, and Gallo confront her. They accuse her of being with a man. She denies it. Gallo confirms she was untouched when she arrived. An ultrasound is performed. Cecilia is pregnant. Franco calls it a miracle. Cecilia is terrified. Later, Cecilia asks Father Tedeschi why she was chosen. He reminds her of the accident from her childhood when she nearly died in the frozen river. He suggests that God spared her for this purpose. He tells her that the meek shall inherit the earth. Soon after, Cecilia is dressed in ceremonial garments and led into the chapel. The nuns surround her, singing praises as if she is sacred. 5 months later, Cecilia wakes with severe morning sickness. She coughs up blood and discovers that one of her teeth has fallen out. At breakfast, every nun rises when she enters, except Gwen. Cecilia is served special food and told she no longer needs to work. Her only duty now is to care for the child. Gwen watches silently, then mocks the moment, saying they might as well start calling Cecilia Mary.
Later, while Cecilia relaxes in the bathing pool, Isabel suddenly attacks her. She forces Cecilia's head underwater, holding her down with desperate strength. Cecilia struggles for air and finally bites Isabel's hand, breaking free. As she gasps for breath, Isabel lunges again and pushes her underwater, screaming that it was supposed to be her. Other nuns rush in and pull Isabel away as she continues shouting that they should try again with her. Cecilia is taken to the infirmary. Dr. Gallo examines her and confirms that the baby is unharmed. Still shaken, Cecilia repeats Isabel's words and demands an explanation. Father Tedeschi dismisses the attack, claiming Isabel has suffered from mental illness for years. He assures Cecilia it will never happen again. Growing increasingly afraid, Cecilia asks to be taken to a real hospital and mentions that she has lost a tooth. Her request is denied. Tedeschi insists it would be too dangerous for her to be seen in public and that she must remain in the convent until the child is born.
Later, while walking through the grounds, Cecilia notices two nuns standing at a window, their faces hidden behind red masks. Suddenly, a body falls from the roof. Screams erupt in the garden. Cecilia runs toward the scene and discovers the fallen nun is Isabel. During the funeral, Gwen quietly tells Cecilia that she does not trust this place. She goes further, admitting she is no longer sure she can trust what is growing inside Cecilia either. Father Tedeschi interrupts them, but Gwen ignores him. She loudly confronts the convent's leaders, accusing them of lying to everyone. Her outburst escalates until Tedeschi and Enzo forcibly drag her away.
That night, Cecilia lies awake, unable to sleep. One of the chains holding a painting on her wall suddenly snaps. When she adjusts it, she discovers writing hidden behind the image. The message is a Bible verse written in Italian. Using her own Bible, Cecilia reads the translation and learns that Satan can disguise himself as an angel of light. Alarmed, Cecilia goes to Gwen's room but finds it empty. She then sneaks into the office to retrieve her personal file, only to find the drawer locked. She freezes when she hears movement and sees a light in the next room, but the sound fades. Finding a knife, she forces the drawer open and takes the file. Inside, she finds a newspaper article about her childhood accident, along with medical records and DNA test results. Suddenly, Cecilia hears Gwen screaming. She follows the sound outside to a wooden door and looks through the keyhole. Inside, Gwen is strapped to a chair. Masked nuns surround her, using tools to mutilate her body. They cut out her tongue. Horrified, Cecilia backs away, only to be grabbed from behind. It is Francesca. She presses an amulet made of hair into Cecilia's hand. When Cecilia begs her for help escaping, Francesca calmly replies in English that she will never leave the convent.
The next morning, Cecilia screams for the entire convent to wake up. The superiors rush to her room and find her bed soaked in blood, her stomach appearing to hemorrhage. With Dr. Gallo absent, the Mother Superior insists Cecilia must be taken to a hospital. Tedeschi hesitates, but Cecilia begs for her life until he finally agrees and orders Enzo to prepare the car. After they leave, the Mother Superior prays in Cecilia's room. She notices a feather on the floor and looks under the bed. There, she finds a dead chicken hidden beneath the sheets, revealing the bleeding was staged. On the road, Tedeschi receives a phone call informing him of the discovery. He orders Enzo to stop the car. Realizing she has been exposed, Cecilia tries to escape. The men catch her and drag her back to the convent. Back inside, the Mother Superior forces Cecilia into an icy shower and scrubs her violently as punishment. When Cecilia says God will never forgive them, the Mother Superior slaps her.
Cecilia is strapped into a wheelchair and taken to a room behind the altar. Now certain someone inside the convent caused her pregnancy, she demands the truth. Father Tedeschi reveals the holy nail. He explains that blood and bone were found on it, allowing them to extract what he calls the genetic code of the Messiah.
He claims this is their chance to bring Jesus back. When Cecilia calls him insane, Tedeschi wheels her into another room filled with jars, showing decades of failed attempts. He admits he has spent 20 years trying to resurrect Jesus and believes Cecilia is the first successful vessel. In his laboratory, Tedeschi explains that he was once a genetic scientist whose work was rejected. Becoming a priest allowed him to continue his experiments in the name of faith. Enzo restrains Cecilia's legs as Tedeschi burns crosses into her feet with a heated iron.
Later, Cecilia is left alone in her room. When she tries to stand, the pain overwhelms her and she collapses. She crawls toward the door but finds it locked and finally breaks down. Weeks later, Cecilia goes to confession and questions Cardinal Franco about her fate. He refuses to answer. As she nervously fingers her rosary, Franco coldly says that if this were not God's will, God would have already stopped it. Days before the birth, Dr. Gallo performs another ultrasound and confirms the child is moving. He leaves briefly to get medication, forgetting to lock the door. Cecilia seizes the moment, grabs a crucifix, and beats the Mother Superior until she stops moving. As Cecilia staggers away, liquid runs down her legs. Her labor has begun. On a balcony, she ambushes Cardinal Franco and strangles him with her rosary. Dr. Gallo sees what happened and flees. Cecilia takes Franco's lighter and heads to the chapel as her contractions worsen. She steals the holy nail and runs to the laboratory, pouring ethanol across the floor and equipment.
Tedeschi confronts her and coldly says they will simply find another girl if she dies. Another contraction hits. As he lunges for the lighter, Cecilia strikes him with a bottle and locks him inside. She drops the lighter and the room bursts into flames. Believing it is over, Cecilia staggers away, but Tedeschi survives and chases her. Weakened by labor, Cecilia flees into the catacombs. She hides when she hears him nearby. When she turns on her flashlight, she finds Gwen's mutilated body. Through pain and fear, Cecilia finds a narrow opening and begins to climb. Tedeschi catches her and drags her back, praying as he tears at her clothes. As he prepares a scalpel, Cecilia pulls out the holy nail and stabs him in the neck, killing him. She crawls into the open air and collapses as the birth begins. When it is over, she looks at what has been born and realizes the experiment has failed horribly. Terrified, Cecilia lifts a heavy rock and brings it down, ending the experiment once and for all.